Good evening and welcome to the Dunellen Board of Education Organization Meeting, January 6th, 2026. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings NJSA 10:4-6 et sequitur, adequate notification of this meeting has been provided by advertising in the Courier News and posting notice in the Board of Education Administration Building and District Schools, and filing notice with the Borough Clerk. I hereby call to order the organization public meeting Tuesday, January 6, 2026, in the Lincoln Middle School Cafetorium, 400 Dunellen Avenue, at 7 p.m. 7:03. This meeting is broadcast live. For details, check www.dunellenschools.org. I'll start with the roll call. Mr. Anderson.
Present.
Mrs. Condit.
Present.
Ms. Ibach is absent. Dr. Gendrano.
Present.
Mr. Saanoy.
Present.
Ms. Schimpf.
Present.
And Mrs. Shep.
Present.
Okay, so we have a quorum, and we'll have additional member in a little while. This time, will you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence. Will you please remain standing for a moment of reflection and respect for our troops serving throughout the world, our troops who have served, and our troops who have made the ultimate sacrifice in the name of our United States of America. Thank you. Okay, moving along. Item number 4 on our agenda is organization. We'd like to announce the official results of the school elections that took place on Tuesday, November 4th, 2025. With 975 votes, Dr. Isaiah Noel Gendrano III is elected to a 3-year term of office. With 1,417 votes, Nicole Moore has been elected to a 3-year term. And with 41 votes as a write-in candidate, Gregory Mitchell has been elected to a 3-year term of office. Congratulations to our 2 new board members and 1 returning board member. So at this time, let's make it official. We're going to recite the oath that every board member is required to recite. Come on, Mrs. Moore. I'm going to read, and you can repeat after me.
Sure.
That's the wrong document.
There we go. That's better. Thank you.
You ready?
Sure.
Here we go.
Here we go.
All right. I, Nicole Moore,
I, Nicole Moore,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
and
to the governments established in the United States and this state,
in the United States and this state,
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
Okay, continuing. I, Nicole Moore,
I, Nicole Moore,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office of a member of a Board of Education,
for the office of a member of a Board of Education,
that I am not disqualified as a voter
that I am not disqualified as a voter
pursuant to RS 19:4-1.
pursuant to RS 19:4-1,
Well done. Nor disqualified
nor disqualified
due to conviction of a crime
due to conviction of a crime
or offense listed
or offense listed
in NJS 18A
in NJS 18A
12-1.
12-1,
I made that one easier for you. and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of that office
of that office
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
Congratulations, you are officially a board member. So come on down, bring all your stuff. You have the unveiling of your official name. Unfortunately, our second newly elected board member is unavailable tonight due to illness, so we'll work with him to swear him in as soon as he's able. So without further ado, we'll move on to our returning board member, Dr. Go on up. Dr. Isaiah Noel Gendrano III. You ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All the same stuff she just said.
All the same stuff she just
There
said.
you go. Okay. I, Isaiah Noel Gendrano III,
I, Isaiah Noel Gendrano III,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
and that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and this state,
and this state,
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
under the authority of the people, so help me God.
I, Isaiah Noel Gendrano III,
I, Isaiah Noel Gendrano III,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess
that I possess
qualifications
qualifications
prescribed by the law
prescribed by the law
for the office of a member of a Board of Education,
for the office of a member of a Board of Education,
that I am not disqualified
that I am not disqualified
as a voter
as a voter
pursuant to
pursuant to
RS 19:4-1.
RS 19 colon
Yeah.
RS 19 colon 4-1,
Yeah, there you go. Nor disqualified
nor disqualified
due to conviction of a crime
due to conviction of a crime
or offense
or offense
listed in
listed in
NJS 18A
NJS 18A
colon 12-1,
colon 12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly
and justly
perform all the duties
perform all the duties
of that office
of that office
according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
according to the best of my abilities, so help me God.
And welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
All right. All right, so the board is fully occupied now. Well, actually, we still have one more to bring on board. Okay, moving on. Now that we've administered the oath, we are going to move on to the election of officers. So first, I will accept nominations for the office of President of the Dunellen Board of Education. Anyone wishing to nominate someone, please raise your hand. Mrs. Condit?
I wanted to nominate Ms. Sharonda Shrimp for president.
Thank you. And any other nominations?
Yeah, I'd like to nominate
Hold
Dr.
on, I think Elise had her hand up first.
Sorry.
He's heading in the same direction. I'd like to nominate Dr. Gendrano.
Okay. Was that your nomination as well?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other nominations for the president? Okay, I see no further nominations, so we'll now hold the election. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Dunellen Board of Education, the way that this will work is we will vote on the first person nominated first. We'll go around through a roll call, and you'll vote yes, no, or abstain. If the first person nominated receives 5 yes votes, that person will become the president. If not, we will move on and take the vote on the second person. And if that person does not get 5 votes, then we start again. All right. Okay, so we are voting on the first nominee, who is Shonda Schimpf. Mr. Anderson,
Yes.
Mrs. Condit,
Yes.
not here, absent. Dr. Gendrano,
No.
Mrs. Moore. Yeah, the red one will keep it on permanently. The blue one is temporary.
No.
Mr. Satinoy,
No.
Ms. Schimpf,
Yes.
and Mrs. Shep.
No.
So we do not have 5 yes votes. So we will move on to a vote for the second nominee, which is Dr. Noel Gendrano. Mr. Anderson,
No.
Mrs. Condit,
No.
Dr. Gendrano,
Yes.
Mrs. Moore,
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy,
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf,
No.
and Mrs. Shep.
Yes.
And we do not have 5 votes. We have 4 yes votes and 3 no votes. Just double check my notes. Okay, so the bylaw says that in the event no candidate receives a majority vote of the members of the board present and constituting a quorum, the procedure shall continue until someone receives a majority vote. So actually, I might need to correct myself here. In the event, no, voting shall take place by the verbal roll call after nominations are closed. When more than one person has been nominated, the board will vote on candidates in the order in which they were nominated. That part we did correctly. In the event no candidate receives a majority vote of the members of the board present and constituting a quorum. So it's not a majority of the full board, it's a majority of the voting. And in that case, the first vote had 3 yeses and 4 noes, so that was not a majority. The second had 4 yeses and 3 noes, so that is a majority of the board members voting, president voting. So we do have a president, Dr. Gendrano. Dr. Gendrano, you're now the president of the Board of Education. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And for the last time, I can do this. And now it's yours.
Oh, okay. So I have to continue. Okay. Sure. Okay. So at this time, looking for motions for Vice President of the Board of Education. Oh, Ms. Condit?
I wanted to nominate Jason Anderson for Vice President.
Are there any other nominations? I would like to nominate, if I can, if I'm allowed to do so, I would like to nominate Ms. Elise Shep. Any other nominations? Okay. So we call the roll for first Mr. Anderson, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, so we're voting for Mr. Anderson as Vice President of the Dunellen Board of Education. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
No.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
No.
Mrs. Schimpf? Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shep?
No.
Okay, there were 4 yes votes and 3 no votes. So, Mr. Anderson, congratulations. You are the Vice President of the Dunellen Board of Education.
Okay, moving along to item number 7, adoption of the New Jersey School Board Members Code of Ethics. So we do these one at a time, Mr. Pepe, yes? Okay. So just to read this out, I guess the whole Code of Ethics, right? We want to read out the whole Code of Ethics, right?
That's up to you.
Yeah. So for item number 7, whereas it is recommended that boards of education, excuse me, that boards of education review and endorse the New Jersey School Boards Association's Code of Ethics each year and afford individual members the opportunity to declare themselves willing to abide by these principles, the following action will renew this commitment. Be it resolved, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, the Dunellen Board of Education adopts the following New Jersey School Board Member Code of Ethics. Number 1, I will uphold and enforce all laws, state board rules and regulations, and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes should be brought only through legal and ethical procedures. Number 2, I will make decisions in terms of educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing. Number 3, I will confine my board action to policymaking, planning, and appraisal, and will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them. Number 4, I will carry out my responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are well run. Number 5, I will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises nor take any private action that may compromise the board. Number 6, I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interest or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends. Number 7, I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all other matters, I will provide accurate information and, in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools. Number 8, I will vote to appoint the best qualified personnel available after consideration of the recommendation of the superintendent. Number 9, I will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties. Number 10, I will refer all complaints to the superintendent and will act on such complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution. So, looking for a motion to approve item number 7.
Move to approve 7.
Second.
Do we need to do this as a roll, Mr. Pepe? Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Moving on to item number 9, board appointments. I would like at this point for number 9 for the board appointments, if we could potentially table this. Sorry, number 8, establishment of regular meeting dates, my bad. So looking for a motion to approve, to approve the regular meeting dates for 2026.
Move to approve establishment of regular meeting dates. Second.
Open for questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Petty, please call the roll.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9 now, right? Because 9 comes after 8, 8 comes after 7. So for board appointments, I would actually like to table this section since we can put names to titles and bring this up to the next meeting. So
Yeah, so you're going to ask for a motion to
Yep.
postpone?
yes, asking for a motion to postpone to next full board meeting.
Second.
Move to table item number 9.
Second.
Okay. Open for questions, comments?
I think we had this conversation last year. My only concern is the committee meetings.
Right.
So how would you like the committees to be formed for later this month?
Procedurally, the committee chairs and the committee members do not need board approval. They only need to be appointed by the board president. So he can do that outside of the board meeting.
If that's okay.
The only ones that require board approval are the delegates to the NJ school boards and Middlesex County school boards.
Okay.
So throughout the next week or two,
Yes.
right, figure out what committee assignments, board members that you would be interested in performing, and then we'll convene the committees.
Okay, sounds good.
Perfect. Great, thank you.
So any other comments, questions?
Just like to point out also regarding the committees that since Mr. Mitchell was unable to be here tonight and hasn't been sworn in yet, he cannot participate in the committees until he's sworn in. It is possible to do that in between meetings. I can do it in my office. So we'll discuss how we want to move forward. I asked him to reach out when he's feeling better, and we'll make a plan.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so Mr. Pepe, can you please call the roll on the motion?
All right. Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
And Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Okay, so this motion has been postponed to a future board meeting.
Okay. Moving on to item 10, President's Remarks. None at this time other than to say Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2026. Moving on to item number 11, Superintendent's Report. Mr. Ross.
Thank you, Dr. Gendrano. So we're going to start the superintendent's report with 2 presentations. The first is going to be the presentation of the fiscal year 2025 audit. We have with us our esteemed friend, Mr. Ardito, who has been the district's auditor for 25 years? At least 25, we'll call it? 57 years, 130 years. Mr. Ardito has been with the district for quite some time, knows the district inside and out. Ryan, you can do that. And he is here to present the findings of the audit for fiscal year 25, which is the year from July 1st, 24 to June 30th, 2025.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me tonight. Actually, I think it was fiscal year 15. So, yeah. Fiscal year 15, I believe it was. Oh, okay. questions. So for those who don't know me, I'm Anthony Ardito, partner with Ardito and Company. We completed the audit back in October, November timeframe and released the report in December. As you know, most years we're waiting on the state to give us some financial information that we need to bake into your audit report, namely post-retirement benefit plans for teachers and pension information, which you guys don't care about. I don't really care about it either. But to have a unqualified opinion and a good audit, you have to have that in your audit report. So if you go through your ACFR, Annual Comprehensive Financial Report, the notes to the financials in the middle of it are like this thick. And you'll be wondering, where do I get to the good parts at? Not there. They're usually the first few financial schedules. So I'm just going to go through this presentation. It's very high level. I'll give you a sense of where the district is financially, where it was in the past, and then we'll talk about the audit also. So this shows your governmental fund expenditure pie chart. So the governmental fund is not only your general fund that you base your tax levy on, it's also the special revenue fund where you spend all of your grant money. It's also the debt service fund where you make your debt service payments, and it's also your capital projects fund, which you have two big projects going on right now. So down on the left-hand side, in the reddish-purple pie shape there, instruction, $11.5 million almost. That's the largest piece of your pie. That's regular and special ed teacher salaries. Also have some purchase professional educational expenditures in there, and also direct classroom supplies. So it's very very sparsely populated with expenses. So you would think, well, instruction's only 28% of our pie. That's just the New Jersey chart of accounts, the way they organize the expenditures. So as we go across, we'll hit a couple of other ones. Tuition, that's mainly other districts that you send special education children out to. Above that is support. And that's everything that it takes to support that instruction function. I mean, there's a litany of things in there. Library, improvement of instructional services, child study team's a big one, attendance, health services, related services, extra services, guidance, staff training. That's all in support. General administration, that's all of your Board of Ed office, superintendent, all of your principals, all secretarial, your IT costs are in G&A, also all of your telecom is in there, as well as professionals like audit fees, all your legal fees are in G&A. That comes out to 6.1% of the pie. And I'll just let you know, the state of New Jersey is usually north of 8%. So you're doing well at containing those G&A costs. Next to that, plant maintenance, that's everything to maintain your physical school buildings. Not only your salaries for your custodians, but your insurance, your utilities, things of that nature. Transportation is busing. Mostly that's special education busing, $1 million there. Next to that is something called on-behalf benefits. And in governmental accounting, you have to show in your ACFR the expenditures that the state pays for you on your behalf for the teacher's pension and for the teacher's retirement plan. So that dollar amount is almost $5.3 million, so that gets baked into your expenditures. But you don't actually pay for that. You don't budget for it. That same number is shown as a revenue, so they offset each other, same exact dollar amount. So it doesn't affect your fund balance. It's in there for presentation because Governmental Accounting Standards Board says that it should be. Next to that, at about 3 o'clock, employee benefits, almost $5.4 million. $4.4 million of that is health insurance. The rest is Social Security match that you make for your employees. Also payroll, any other payroll taxes. The PERS pension payment is in there. You pay for your non-TPAF, known as PERS, employees pension plan. And tuition reimbursements, any kind of sick payouts are also in employee benefits. Below that, special revenue, that's where you spend all your grants, all your federal grants, your title grants, your IDEA grants, the remaining ARP grants, that was the ESSER 3 COVID grants. They're all done now as of September 2024. That's in there. You had a lot of different grants that came through in fiscal 25. Teacher climate grants, high impact training grants, and one of the bigger ones that you've had for a couple of years now is preschool education aid from the state. That's also spent through special revenue. That's $1.4 million of that dollar amount. Down at the bottom, we have debt service. Those are the two bond issues that you have, the 2020-12 one and the 2021. The 2020 was the big referendum, and that debt service ends in 2035, so another 10 years or so. And then at the very bottom, capital outlay, $1.5 million. That's the spending on your referendum, continued spending, and your Faber classroom project that you have going on. They're kind of winding down at this point, so you'll probably have other projects coming on in fiscal 26. These are your expenditures over the last 5 years, starting with the year 2021. You were at almost $19 million. And what we do in this chart is we exclude capital projects and we exclude those on-behalf benefits I talked about. We're just looking here at true reoccurring operating costs. The blue line is your 2021 $19 million operating cost adjusted for inflation. And the line looks fairly flat, but that's only because of the graphical nature of the actual expenditures needed to have a chart large enough. But as you know, inflation has increased dramatically. In 2022, it was 8%, 23, it was more like 4%, in 24 and 25, it's supposedly 3%. So with that, you take a look at your actual expenditures, which is the green line, and you're way above inflation. And you say, well, why is that? Well, your budget was built that way because you're getting a lot more state aid than you did in the past. In 2020, we'll look at that on the next slide. But going from 21 to 25, your state aid has more than doubled. And of course, your expenditures are accordingly going to be budgeted and spent in that regard also. So don't let this chart scare you. If we take a look at the next one, which is revenues over the same period, you could see that orange triangle there is your state aid. It went from $9 million in 2021 to over $21 million in 2025. So the state has given you more money. It's more than doubled. You have a new program that came in a few years ago, preschool education aid. That's contributed to the increase. And if you take a look at the second largest revenue source, which is your state aid, your tax levy, those purple bars there, you can see that really hasn't increased. The tax levy increases have been minor, and on a compounded annual basis, it's only 1.5% increase over that entire time when you've had inflation at 25% as you add it up over the years. From there, the revenue drops off. There's really nothing else other than state aid and your tax levy. You have a little bit of grants, that black line down at the bottom, 1.3 million. And the blue bar at the bottom is any other local revenue that you have. Most of that $1 million is interest earned. And you could see you started earning interest in 2024 and 2025. Before that was kind of non-existent. Banks are paying interest. And in the past, you had non-interest-bearing accounts, but Rich jumped on that and started depositing that money in interest-bearing accounts, and you're making $1 million a year on that now. This chart shows your unreserved general fund balance. What does that mean? That's the portion of your fund balance that's not earmarked for anything. You're only allowed to have 2% of your expenditures in that category. And that's the red bar right there. So in 2025, you're allowed to have $790,000 of unreserved fund balance. You came in at $2.5 million. Now, how does that happen? You don't spend all of your budget, and you bring in revenues above and beyond what your budget was. So excess revenues, underspending. So you're generating $1.7 million. That's the difference between the $790,000 and the $2.5 million. $1.7 million of what they call excess. The prior year, you did the same thing. In the last couple years, you did the same thing, but to a lesser extent. So you're underspending your budget, bringing in more revenues, generating excesses. Now, what happens to this excess? It goes towards your next budget season, which is fiscal 27. So the fiscal 25 excess of 1.7 will be an automatic revenue when you start doing your fiscal 27 budget. It'll be plugged in there as a source of funds. So you just can't hold on to that. Now this chart shows all of your fund balance components. And if I didn't explain what fund balance is, it's what's left over after you've collected all your revenues, spent all of your appropriations. You'll either have a gain or a loss, and you add that to what your fund balance was last year. So this is your new fund balance this year. It's a pretty good picture. Over to the right is your capital reserve, which is the largest piece, a little bit over $8 million. You started off, I think it was 4.4 million at the end of last year. You used $975,000 of it for debt service, which you can. And then you added back $4.6 million of capital reserve. Now, when I say add back, you're thinking, well, how do you add that back? Well, every June, if you remember, you pass a resolution that says if we have any excess revenues or unspent appropriations, we can take that and we can plow it into our reserves, our capital reserve. If you had a maintenance reserve, you could do that, or tuition reserve. Some districts have. But you have capital reserve. So you put $4.6 million into that. And you still had the $1.7 million left over from the last slide that we looked at, which is over on the left-hand side there. So these are the components of your fund balance, a total of $12,706,000. The other components are mostly that excess surplus I talked about on the last slide. At the end of June 30, 2025, the excess surplus that was generated in 2024, down there at the left at about 7 o'clock, of 1.703 million, still exists at that point in time, June 30th. The following day, July 1st, 2025, you start using that for your fiscal 26 budget. So it has to be reserved at the end of June 2025. The excess surplus above that is what we went over in the last slide. Encumbrances at the top, $406,000. In governmental accounting, you issue purchase orders, and those are the purchase orders that haven't been fulfilled yet. You haven't received the goods or services. You haven't been invoiced for them, but there's an order out there. So you have to take those unfulfilled orders and hold them and reserve for them, because the moment July comes around and you start going through the new year, you're going to spend that money. So you have to have it because it was really the prior year's money. So that's what encumbrances mean. And down below is that unrestricted fund balance that we talked about in the last slide. That's that 2% of expenditures that you're allowed to have unrestricted, $790,000. That's sort of your rainy day fund. You're probably going to have little problems with your fiscal 27 budget since you had $1.7 million of excess to your fiscal 26 budget. You have the same amount, 1.7, to your fiscal 27 budget, and you've generated excesses in the past and have always been able to restore your capital reserve. So that capital reserve is going to become important to you as you go forward and plan your projects. Because you went out for referendum in 2020, you don't want to do that anymore. You want to fund all your projects in-house, pay as you go, save the money yourself instead of going out and borrowing money. So all in all, the finances of the district look stellar. You shouldn't be prouder as a board member for the job that you guys have done over the last number of years. And the taxpayers should be pretty happy looking at that tax levy. Those tax levy increases are pretty minor. So congratulations to board, congratulations to the administration for a job well done there. As far as the audit goes, I'm happy to report this is the second year in a row that we don't have any audit findings or recommendations. So congratulations to you folks in the back there. So that's good news. It makes our job easier also as we go through the audit process. So any questions for me? Well, it's been a pleasure to be here tonight, and I congratulate new members, president, vice president. Pretty exciting stuff. So have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
All right, the second presentation for tonight is a mid-year update on the district goals, and this is an update that I think this is the third year that we're doing the mid-year update. And just so that members of the public are aware, the audit presentation, board members as well, and the mid-year district goals update are both available on the website. They were put up before the meeting began, so feel free to have some of the amazing people on my team here to help present. Obviously, you hear me talk about these items all the time through the superintendent's updates, but I felt that it was very important for everyone to be able to share the amazing work that they're doing as well. So I have Megan Drapkin, who's our Director of Curriculum. I have Dr. Tara Santinello, who's our Director of Special Services, and also Rich Pepe, who is our Business Administrator, and they're going to share some of the particular items in their sort of areas as well. Before we bring them up, I'm just going to kind of run through some preliminary slides. the objectives of this presentation really are just to identify what the district goals are. Those are linked there. They're also available on a couple spots on the website. Recognize how the goals serve as the cornerstone to an aligned system of our operations, and then understand the progress monitoring processes that we undertake in the district and continuous improvement. So these are the 4 district goals. They are general in nature, as we've discussed before: academic success and data use, student wellness and school climate, operational efficiency, and community engagement. And these are really the foundation of our work. So the goals themselves, right, set forth this kind of the first step in what we have been using as a really aligned system of improvement. Most districts, and ours is still, we're still in this phase and working hard at it every day. There are a lot of different initiatives that are happening. And the question is, to what end are these initiatives added, or where do they fit into sort of the larger picture? And one of the things that I've been very deliberate about, and my team has done an amazing job on, is aligning those items to very specific targets and very specific goals, so that we have more momentum moving in the same direction. This takes time, and it took us a couple of years to get to this place. We're in year 2 of very, very strategic goal setting. It's much better than year 1 was, and that was better than the kind of shooting ducks in a I don't know what a good analogy would be. Trying different things, throwing things against the wall and seeing whether they'd stick or not. We're certainly beyond that in a much more aligned phase. So again, this process goes all the way down to the classroom. We're not at the level of creating student-led goals or even classroom-led goals, but we have district priorities. We have our school and department scorecards. We have budgeting, PD grants, and board goals pretty much aligned. Our admin goals, PLC work, and our PDPs are also aligned to these district goals. So this will continue to improve as we iterate more, and next year will certainly be better, and the year after that will be better as well. The goal is to really get this down to the students so that we understand what's happening in the classroom as aligned to what the ultimate district goals are. So the way that we've done this is through a cascading process where the goal itself is a kind of a general framework. It represents important focus areas, and those are updated regularly. We talk about those a lot in committees. I talk about them all the time in my superintendent's update. We then, from those very general goals, identify specific impacts. So metrics that we're looking to improve in particular assessments or in particular areas, whether they're operational or in other places. And some of those metrics are formative, right? Meaning that we can check them and measure their progress throughout the year. Some of them are summative that we won't know until the end of the year or until the end of a second testing cycle or something like that. And so we just make progress towards those if we can't sort of keep a running track of how things are going. In order to ensure that the impacts are met or intended to be met, we have identified strategic actions that are associated with each of the impacts. So in order to make this outcome occur, what are the steps that we need to take? What are the steps we believe we should take in order to reach this outcome? So those strategic outcomes are steps taken by administrators and staff and students, and these are things that is really led from the department and from the building. A lot of this represents our key priority work, which we've talked about here at the board table before. And we review these actions and progress at our admin meetings monthly, and then also we do kind of a big quarterly review as well. And in order to ensure that the actions themselves are taking place, there's an evidence collection that says, well, we said we were going to do this, let's say walkthroughs, right, to improve instructional proficiency. Did we actually do those walkthroughs? What's the evidence of those walkthroughs, and what did we learn from them? So every action step has an associated set of evidence that we collect as well. So from the goal all the way down to the what are we doing on the day-to-day, the goal is to be more aligned and to have less sort of surprise about, oh, right now we have to do this random thing, right? These are the things that we're working on. Let's try to do these every day or every week or every other week or whatever it might be. So with that, District Goal 1 is here. So I'm going to just introduce these real simple. simply, and then I will bring up, I'll ask Ms. Drapkin to add some more detailed commentary on the work that she largely leads and oversees as a director of curriculum and instruction. And I don't know, Dr. Santinello, if you're going to be, no? Okay, perfect. So we have, there are 4 schools represented here. This chart only shows 3 because Faber and the middle school have the same goals. Preschool, which, as Mr. Ardito mentioned, right, has been a really big, tremendous, amazing growth area for the district since we accepted preschool education aid and now have universal pre-K. So there are goals associated with that. Faber and LMS are both looking at ELA and math diagnostics using iReady and student performance and student growth. And then the high school is looking at Linkit benchmarks in Algebra 1 and ELA, primarily at the 9th grade. So key drivers are listed on the right? Assessment literacy, right? What do assessments mean? What do they measure? What's the purpose of them? Professional learning communities, which we've talked quite a bit about, which is really coming to fruition this year for the first time. Our tiered systems of support, which is well established in certain areas and growing in others. Data analysis protocols, curriculum review, which we're working on, and then continuous improvement cycles. So with that, I will bring up, I would love Ms. Drapkin to add some commentary.
Good evening, everyone, and congratulations. So with academic success and data use, one of the implementations that we've started is multi-tiered system of supports. With that, we know that there are 3 tiered system, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. It is high quality instruction for all students. That means the tiered system supports is not just for general education or special education or gifted and talented, it's for all children. All students have access to grade level curriculum. It also implements positive behavior and intervention, ongoing data collection and analysis, and it's a positive and inclusive school culture. We've implemented MTSS down at Faber. We are in year 3. Like any program or resource that we adopt, it takes 3 to 5 years, as research shows, for programs to be mastered, because it takes educators 1 to 3 years to really master and learn something. So we have a strong implementation down at Faber, and this year I'm working with the middle school and high school to implement MTSS. We have committees going. They've been meeting monthly so far, and by the end of the year we will have that ready to go so they can work on, as the MTSS team, to deliver that out next year to the middle school and high school. Curriculum instruction and our professional capacity. So we're continuing to look at alignment and instructional coherence across the district. So this year we now have alignment in our K-8 literacy. And again, this is only, year 2 for our 3 to 5. It's year 1 for our K-2 to 6 to 8. So it's going to take some growing pains, and we will see that growth. It just, like anything else, it takes time to learn it, and we're not just going to do it and then abandon it. This is something that we've worked on, that we're going to keep around, and we're going to continue to provide professional development, and we're going to use our instructional coaches, PLC, and we're going to continue to make sure that our teachers are feeling confident and comfortable when implementing. Now, it's not just literacy right now, right? So they're changing our science standards. So we're going to be looking at science resources, or what we have, and how can we enhance and leverage what we have to align to the standards, and how can we make sure that we are really looking at the data and the evidence behind using that. And then we're looking at internal capacity. So we have our learning experience leaders, and what they're really doing is they're going through professional development themselves. They're learning so that way they can feel confident and comfortable working with the staff members. So we're building that capacity within, and this is brand new to the district. We just started this in July, so it's new to them as teacher leaders, and it's new to us as a district, and we're working together collaboratively to make sure that they feel comfortable, and they're working with their colleagues, and they're leading the charge with their colleagues. So the funding and the resources. So a lot of our MTSS and instructional initiatives, we've been able to support all this through our federal funds, Title I, II, and III, and then competitive grants. And right now I am overseeing 8 competitive grants. We have 4 in literacy, 1 in our teacher climate and culture, we have our AP, and then we have our teacher expansion. So there's a lot of grants going on. And with that, we're able to, fund all these initiatives and make sure that there's strategic alignment across the board. So data-driven decision-making and our meeting structures. So this year, one of the goals was to make sure that our meetings at the, from K to 12, it wasn't, 2 faculty meetings a month, or it didn't look, 1 faculty meeting here, 8 department meetings. So we made a clear structure of meetings for our PLCs. We have PLCs going monthly at all of the buildings across the district where they're meeting together. And our PLCs, it took some time to roll out, but now teachers are starting to get in their groups. And with that, we're looking at the data and we're monitoring student progress, and we'll adjust instruction and interventions. And again, PLCs are new here, so we're learning the framework and we're making sure that the teachers feel comfortable as they're going through the process. We're making sure in our PLCs that we'll be looking at assessments, vertical alignment, and next steps for student performance. So our data warehousing and assessment tools. Right now we're using iReady and Linkit K to 8. We're looking at our diagnostic, growth monitoring, and instructional planning. We have our instructional coaches, and they're looking at different ways to look at the data and how they can support our teachers. And then we have iExcel and Linkit at our high school, and they're using the data tracking and skill progression through iExcel to really target instruction for our high school students. And with the data warehousing, we're looking for systems that can really support and monitor students' academic growth and targeted intervention planning in real time. So we're working with a system right now. We're getting everything up so there is one place where everyone can see the data. So that is something that we have been working on. Teachers have not seen it yet because we're working on it behind the scenes. The interventionists will start to see it. So that way next year, everything is in one place. We want the teachers to be able to see a profile of their students that are coming into their classes and what the data looks like previously, so that way they get a sense of their students' profile. Our ENL program and multilingual learner supports. So we have strengthened this through data practices. We're making sure that the students in our ENL classes are receiving grade level curriculum. In the past, students were pulled out for 3 periods a day. So they are also in class for high quality tier 1 instruction. They're getting SEI supports during that time. We have trained all of our interventionists, our instructional coaches, and down at the elementary and middle school level, we have teachers that have gone through SEI training. We also have at the high school, we had teachers that worked very closely with our SEI coaches and have done lesson studies. And then our assessment data for this is really determining our student literacy in their native language. So how literate are the students in their native language? And that helps us to monitor their development in their native language as well as their language development in English. We're aligning our instructional supports in the content areas. So one of the areas I have the instructional coaches working on is what does this look like in our content areas for our students? How are we providing scaffolds and how are we providing differentiation? And then we're making sure that we are in compliance with our Title III requirements. So, thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Drapkin. Goal 2, school climate and culture. We have our impacts up here for the 3 schools, looking at behavior incidents at Faber and at the middle school, as well as referrals, and at the high school, the focus is chronic absenteeism. This is also a focus district-wide. We've been looking at this for the last couple of years. We've been hovering around that 10% mark, as you know, and had a cap that we had to put in place in the past for chronic absenteeism. Key drivers here, really looking at building level supports for teachers. We have tiered system of supports, which we've talked a lot about on the academic side and the SEL side, and in various places and in various roles. Some of these processes are better developed than in others, but this is something that we are very much putting into place, structuring out. We have increased counseling support. As you know, we've added many counselors and a bilingual counselor this year who's done a tremendous job. A lot of staff and student feedback and recognition, incentives, attendance interventions to improve chronic absenteeism rates, and continuous improvement cycles. So with that, I'd like to welcome Dr. Tara Santinello, our Director of Special Services, to speak some more about these items.
Great, thank you so much and good evening. Thank you for having Ms. Drapkin and I. I'm very excited to talk about just where the district is going in terms of school climate and culture. I have a core belief that students don't learn if they don't feel good. And students also have to be in school to learn. So the work that we are doing in terms of school climate and culture is truly a team effort. From administrators to central office to the paraprofessionals to the lunch aides, everyone has a role in supporting students feeling good and recognizing students that are progressing socially, emotionally, and behaviorally. As Mr. Ross said, we have rolled out a tiered system of support for SEL and behavior, which includes universal tier 1 and then referral process for both tier 2 and tier 3 support, which includes school counselor support as well as behaviorists and or our wellness specialist forms. We have wellness specialists that we had brought in 2 years ago when we transitioned from our contracted services to in-house homegrown that we use the state model for when developing an in-house wellness program, and we have one at elementary and one at middle and high school, and they provide more targeted individual counseling to students. So we really have developed a system where there is data tracking, information progress monitoring, and then students can move through tiers of support depending on just their needs. All schools are implementing a form of positive behavior supports in schools, or PBSIS. Faber is continuing to do their Bowie Bucks and kindness tickets. I have to say, it is like one of the highlights of my week when I get to hear all the students that were caught being kind. It is really awesome to hear Mr. Geiger read their names over the loudspeaker, or even see the students come down to the office to say, I got a kindness ticket. It really is a proud moment. At the middle school, they are both implementing academic incentives for completion of iReady and Linkit lessons, if you will, to kind of see how they're progressing. And then also SEL. I mean, you can see some of the things just around the auditorium here. Students are really visible in saying how they feel and what makes them feel good. This past holiday, they did a door decorating contest, and students can also earn, so for example, at the high school, it's called Destroyer Dollars, where they can earn points, if you will, and one of the most popular reward we have is a positive phone call home. So Miss Ashley Powell, our vice principal, picks up the phone with the student there and makes a phone call home to that student's parent or guardian. And that student is, again, just elated just to hear a positive phone call home. Ms. Drapkin and Mr. Ross also talked about our professional learning communities, and this year we have, specifically at the middle and high school, dedicated PLCs really looking to understand the themes of chronic absenteeism. So really understanding the problem, so hopefully then make recommendations to the buildings to help remedy, and improve just students being in seats and students being here. I talked a little bit about the wellness with the small group. They're also doing small group counseling with the referrals. They're also doing monthly newsletters. And I think a big shift also this past year is the wellness clinic. The wellness specialist meets with myself biweekly. But they also meet with the administrators, the building, to talk about what's going on with the students. They collaborate with those school counselors, so it really is that wraparound level of service. Last year, for this school year was the year one, both Faber and Lincoln were selected to be part of the New Jersey Inclusion Project. This is a 3-year systemic change grant. There is no monetary award given, but the amount of professional development and on-site coaching that we have available to us, I really could not put a dollar amount to it. For example, we had our site visit from our inclusion close, Laura, today at Faber, and then she meets tomorrow at Lincoln. So each school has site-based teams with liaisons, and really pushing what does inclusion mean for those buildings? Not what is inclusion, but what is it going to mean for those individual schools and then those individual teams? And how can we increase instruction for all learners and really make environments available to students. We also have bi-monthly statewide meetings, so all of these schools that are participating in the inclusion project hop on a meeting, and we get to hear from other districts and other schools and kind of talk about what they're doing. Myself, Mr. Tennant, and Mr. Tobin, as the administrators, are also required and happily participate in community of practice meetings, and those happen every 3 months, I believe. We have another one coming up at the end of January, where again, it's just administrators in a room talking about how can we be better, because we need to be for our students. So what can we do, and really learning from each other. All In for Inclusive Education, which is who kind of helps sponsor the New Jersey Inclusion Project, offers professional learning academies, which are targeted professional developments. They have 4 categories: teachers, child study related service, special area teachers, and administrators. And there's monthly academies, they're 3 hours, that our staff are and participating in. The amount of subs that Ms. Lubliner has to get on Professional Learning Academy days is really astonishing. Teachers want to go, they want to learn, and they are turnkey training that information and just helping each other. And it really, I've participated in almost every one that we've had so far, and the amount of knowledge that I'm learning and doing with my fellow admins, it really is nice. We also were able to purchase this year a Moodle specifically for paraprofessionals on inclusive education. So now we have everyone from administrators to teachers to child study to support staff to paraprofessionals all understanding the same thing when it comes to inclusion. And those are Moodles that they are participating in on professional development days. Last March, there was a broadcast memo that was put out seeking participation from districts. The topic was partnership to effectively resolve disputes at the local level. I'm very proud to announce that Dunellen was one of 3 districts selected in the state to participate in this partnership. I did ask what the selection criteria was to be selected, and the representative from the state indicated that the 3 districts that were selected had shown the capacity to make movement and make positive change in this area. So I'm very excited about this. The district will be receiving targeted support, training, and technical assistance to really build and work on relationships with families when a dispute occurs, because disputes are natural. They are going to happen. The goal is to work at the local level to help resolve them. And this is a partnership with the New Jersey Department of Education, Office of Special Education, and SPAN, the Parent Advocacy Network. So they will be doing on-site visits monthly, as well as training. For example, we will have the capacity to train 4 members of our child study team to become facilitated IEP meeting facilitators. So we will be trained in that capacity, which that in and of itself, I think, is just a huge step in the right direction when it comes to working with families and working to understand their side and really hoping to resolve disputes. Looking forward, hot off the presses, Rutgers had reached out to us. They're seeking partnerships on family engaged literacy for students with disabilities. I don't know much about this, but I do plan to reach out to see if it would be an appropriate fit for our district. I mean, anything that's going to put books in the hands of kids, specifically, students that have needs, I am game for. So I'm hoping that I can report something positive on that partnership soon. Thank you.
All right, so goal 3 is operational efficiency. We have 5 goals or 5 impacts identified in operational efficiency. Pre-K, we have 1 goal, which I'm going to invite Ms. Drapkin to speak about. And then at the district level, we have 4 goals, which Mr. Pepe will speak about. In each of these areas, again, we have our key drivers that are associated with us. And this is really about improving the internal processes and ensuring that there's good quality control in the work that we're doing. So we'll start with Ms. Drapkin.
So Grow New Jersey Kids, what that is once you receive the preschool expansion aid, one of the partnerships is we enter into Grow New Jersey Kids, and Mrs. Van Ross has been hard at work with our instructional coach and our preschool team on the quality rating and improvement system. And what this does is we're getting ready to submit our information to the state, and we have to score a 3 in all of the areas and above to show that we are at a high quality preschool and that we align with the state expectations and standards for high quality preschool. So that submission will be coming in the spring, and hopefully we'll have our scores before the end of the school year.
So I'm going to just lead by saying I'm a little bit jealous of Dr. Santinello, who got to say one of the most fun words ever, Moodle. Now I got to say it too. So I'm going to talk about the business office and what we've done, because we have a very different kind of impact on the students, a very less direct, but I think still an important impact on how the district functions. For my first 2.5 years, I've worked with a team that was doing good work. But what I observed was that work was very process or procedure and compliance focused. And I kind of had a vision for something that was a little bit more customer service focused. And so these goals, or the goals that we put together, have to do with what we can do in the business office to make everyone else's work easier for them. And so the first two goals that we had were actually continued from the prior year, which was just becoming more efficient with our processing of invoices and of purchase orders. So the goal was to get from a place where we would have POs come in and things would get ordered, sometimes quickly, sometimes it would take a while, to where we have kind of a routine where things get ordered very quickly every time. And then on the flip side, when the invoices come in from the vendors, we want to be able to make those payments as quickly as possible so that vendors are wanting to work with us and people are happy and getting the things they need. So those are our first two goals, and you can kind of see on that, it's a little small, but so far this year we've done a very good job on that process. September, October, November, December, for the first table on the top is about our invoices, and so that is saying how quickly are we paying invoices. And when I first got here, we had invoices from prior years that were still popping up and saying, hey, we still owe this money, and so we need to get on this. And so now we're at a cadence where it's happening much more effectively and quickly. So as you can see, we went from, in September, about 74% of our invoices were turned around within 15 days, within 30 days, rather, to we are now up to 95% of our invoices are being turned around within that 30-day period. Similarly, on the side of the purchase orders, we said, well, how fast, when a teacher or an administrator or a staff member is looking to purchase things, how quickly can we get it in their hands? And so we've made some huge strides with this. As you can see, in 4 months, we missed one purchase order that did not get ordered within 14 days in 4 months. And that was not the way it was in the past. So we're very proud of this work. We're going to continue to try and operate in this way, but that's still a procedural focus and not really the big vision that I have. So the other things are a little bit more part of this big vision. Business office communications, one thing that I have stressed with the business office is when you're interacting with other staff members, whether it be a administrator, a teacher, a custodian, a nurse, anybody, we should be, as a business office, trying to help them, trying to make their work easier, not making it harder, which it often feels like for many staff members because we're very focused on procedures. So we've kind of changed our way of communicating. We've had a lot of conversations internally about how do you respond to certain emails so that you can get the point across about a process, but you can still be supportive and help people get what they need in a timely fashion. And I think we're making some big strides in this. We're going to get, we took a baseline data survey in August, the end of August, and we're going to take a follow-up survey at the end of the year and see if we've made improvements as we feel we have. I can tell you just anecdotally that on emails that I'm copied on and conversations that I'm part of, that our business office has really done a good job of being supportive, proactive, which is an important part of the first two goals. We're able to do the invoices on time and the POs on time because rather than just wait for things to happen, our team is going after things and saying, hey, we have an invoice, we haven't heard yet that we received this, so let's ask rather than wait to find out. So like these are the kinds of things where we're trying to be supportive and helpful, and I think we're doing a great job with it. The last goal that we have here is this facilities life cycle planning guide. So another way that we can be helpful to the staff is by giving clear understanding of procedures. So it's not so much about lecturing about procedures or about coming after someone who's not following procedures, but rather letting them know what the procedures what he does, but he gets pulled in so many directions. I don't know. Sometimes I think he's Gumby. He just gets stretched everywhere. I also sometimes think that we have like one of those electric dog fences because he never leaves this place. I don't know if he gets a shock if he goes more than a mile away, but he's always here. He's always on top of things. He's doing great. But we want to try and make this so that he doesn't have to always be there and that people just can have a resource to know what they need to do to get things done in the schools. You need an improvement to a room. You need a piece of furniture built. You need things that aren't maintained, which we're having less and less of that because our crew has been doing a fantastic job. But whatever you need, there should be a process to make it very easy for you to access those things. So that's what we're working on now. And yep, I think that's it.
All right, so goal 4 is community engagement, and this is really broken out into 3 levels as we've talked about quite a bit. Parent involvement through stakeholder meetings and other types of events, student voice, and staff member voice. And so key drivers here, proactive outreach and informational sessions on a wide variety of topics, communication platforms, having everything bilingual or in multiple languages, student voice groups and board liaisons, so we're hearing from our students directly. A lot of staff member check-ins. We have formalized rounding, the Labor Management Collaborative, which I'll talk about on the next slide as well, and then the development of key areas of focus and needs assessment. So just some of the things that we're doing with community engagement. We've had a lot of parent and family engagement opportunities, many through preschool, many through our Title I funds, many through counseling, many through E&L opportunities, and supporting our multilingual learners. And so a lot of those things, we're also obviously in the Title I school-wide stakeholder meetings, which have parent involvement through community engagement. We have our E&L breakfasts and celebrations, which began at the amazing work of Ms. Drapkin. We actually have 2 of those coming up this month. Our student voice groups, which have been established at each of the buildings, Labor Management Collaborative, which, as you know, is a partnership with NJEA to formalize building-based decision-making and shared collaborative decision-making at the sort of the lowest possible level. The software Highlight, which is used to recognize just cool things that people are doing throughout the buildings and commend your staff and your colleagues in a public forum. Rounding, which is regular check-ins with staff members, just a basic set of questions that we ask to kind of get a pulse on people and what they're thinking about, what they might need support on, who's been helpful. 30 and 90-day check-ins with new staff members. And this is the second year of this initiative. And this is really sort of the proactive stay types of interviews instead of looking at exit interviews to sort of get feedback about why people are staying or remaining in the district. Those have been very successful as well. DEA monthly meetings. I meet with the DEA leadership each month to discuss ongoing issues, and we have a very positive and supportive relationship. And then staff recognition, which has occurred in various ways at each of the buildings. So with all of these goals and all of the impacts that we're looking at, we have quarterly and annual impact tracking. Everything here looks yellow because the yellow and the green look the same on this screen, but you can see them better on the presentation, which is available on the website. Many of the indicators, the impact indicators, are summative goals. So when you look at fall to spring growth, we can't say that we've met that growth yet because we haven't had those assessments, but those are certainly on track. We have met a couple of things. We've established the student voice processes. We've established many of the staff member processes. The invoices, requisitions, many of those items are things that we believe we've made significant progress on. And then really the only one that is kind of off track at this point is the facilities planning life cycle guide. So we go through this meeting as an admin team every quarter with our partners at Studer. We have our next check-in for Q2 probably in about mid-February or so, and we'll convene again. We're going through the mid-year assessments process right now throughout January, and midterm assessments, all of the iReady, et cetera. So we'll have more data then. And that is it. So I'm, first of all, just very grateful to my team, who does an incredible job each and every day, leading their departments and really pushing this work along. I know board members, you've had the opportunity to share conversations with them through committees, but I do want to thank them for their words and the additional commentary that they were able to provide here today. With that, I'm happy to take any questions. Certainly, if you'd like to ask one of the team members a question, I can bring them up as well.
Sorry to do this, but I have a litany of questions on here. These are pretty good. And I love the presentation, so that was really good and informative. It does leave me with a bunch of questions. One of the things that I look at is, personally, my daughters and students had success with AP classes, and it's been very, very helpful. Are we looking at expansion of AP classes in order to support our students as they go into college and prepare from like Faber to Lincoln Middle School to be ready for those AP classes?
So there are a couple ways to answer the question. The first is, as a small district, we are somewhat limited in the ability to offer all the types of classes that would be offered in a large district. The second piece of it is, of the AP classes that we're offering, what are the results like for those? Are we seeing success in all of that? And that's something that we've looked at quite a bit. We have relatively uneven results from year to year across our processes. Ms. Drapkin's work with the AP grant has been is going to be looking at these items, and one of the things, just as by way of example, is if we're looking at literacy in the middle school, right? How is literacy in the middle school supporting the development of what's happening at the high school, and then use of the AP rubric or some modified version of it so that kids are doing similar types of work throughout. The PLC work gets into a lot of that. And as Ms. Drapkin mentioned, a lot of the discussion about literacy or reading or informational tasks, that's shared across multiple content areas. And so what's the process of learning in each of these content areas? How can we align those things and support teachers so that they can be supportive, so that when the kids get into these classes, it's not the first time they've seen a DBQ or the first time that they've had to write a rhetorical response or that sort of thing.
Yeah, just to say that the AP classes have resulted in probably cutting down almost a year of college for my daughter. So
yeah, absolutely.
I guess, Ms. Drapkin, one of the questions I guess I can codify or put these two together. Looking at your report and tying data and results to support projected student goals, and that kind of ties in with the multiple tiered support alignment so that the current student and community environment can be tied into that, and how does that all work? Because then you have a lot of stuff that's there, but not a lot of it's highlighted and shown off to our constituents.
So we have the stakeholder meetings. So every year the comprehensive needs assessment goes out to the whole community. We had a really high goal last year of, I think it was like 217, and we put out flyers all over the place. We had QR codes. Ms. Jimenez and Ms. Riggy, both our CPISs, were dropping off the QR codes, posting them up. Excuse me, I know they were put on like some of the Facebook pages, but the turnout of the responses wasn't very high. We put out a Google form this year for community and parent involvement to be part of the stakeholder meetings within the district. So that way they can, and I know Dr. Dendrano's on it, and what we try to do with that is that's where the parents can come and see what is happening. We go over the initial goals, we look at the original data, and then I'm always looking for input, answering questions then, and those meetings are where we really dive into the data, look at the comprehensive needs assessment. Now, when you are on that committee, there are certain areas when you're signing off on it that we do also have confidentiality because there's conversations going on. However, the data is always presented, that is public knowledge, but just in case we're talking about specific things. But that's why we always send out these Google Forms, because we are trying to get more parent and family engagement. That's also why we try to have a lot of these Title I events or the Title III events, so that way we're bringing families in and we're communicating with them and they can actually see what is going on, or we're providing them with resources on what they can do at home, what we have available. Did that answer the question?
Yeah, it does. And I'd just like to highlight that even though you had a very high goal, it was still very successful in terms that people came in and felt good about it, right? And the feedback was really positive?
For the most part, it was positive, and what wasn't is what we took and we made into our goals. And we talked about it as an admin team over the summer, so we looked at those areas, and that's where we had to narrow in some of our goals, like our chronic absenteeism. We really looked at that. We looked at where some of the anti-bullying stuff came in. So that's where picking up the NJ4S, that's where getting an additional counselor, having the wellness specialist. So we did look at those little areas and then trying to enhance those practices and make sure that we're implementing it. So that's based off the comprehensive needs assessment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, I've got a question for Dr. Santinella. You provided a quick overview of what can you provide a quick overview of what really inclusion means at the JPF and LMS levels, so that we have a better understanding instead of just a quick blurb on the...
Absolutely. So inclusion is not a place, it is an understanding that all students can learn in a learning community. So it's providing a level of universal kind of design for learning, UDL, in a way that you take a lesson and break it down, and maybe it has 4 different levels or components, so that students who have varying cognitive abilities, physical abilities, social, emotional abilities, they can all learn together. So it's making sure that students don't have to be segregated to go and learn the same general education curriculum. So it is the project that we're working on, and again, I stress in the presentation, we're really defining inclusion for our buildings, not taking what the global jargon is what each building created a vision statement for inclusion, what it means to them for their buildings. We have it posted up on the walls at Faber. We're in process here at Lincoln, but we're getting there. It's a process. And what does it mean to have our teachers be ready to receive all students, not just some students, to receive every student, to help increase LRE. In special ed, we look at least restrictive environment. So we have a number. The state likes about 40% of our students to be educated in the general education population, 80% or more of their day. Our scores were not there. So we were selected because of our scores and needed to move in the direction of least restrictive environment to improve those scores. That is a slow process. That takes parental involvement. That takes IEP meetings. That takes everyone being on board to understand that all students can learn in an environment together and that we don't need to continuously segregate. It may be appropriate for some, but moving in the direction and creating this understanding that all students can learn together.
Okay, 2 questions. Could you provide an example of the community practice success or a target that is being done and what's being done to get there? Because it was a quick blurb, and we'd just like to highlight for the people that are listening what an example of a community practice success or a target then what's being done.
Sure. So for inclusion specifically?
When I looked at the slide, that's why I wasn't too sure. Just really the community of practice, it was within that slide?
Sure.
That's what it pertains
Yep.
to.
So the community of practice is for our administrators. So myself, Mr. Tennant, and Mr. Tobin, we participate with the regional meetings. So we go to the Central Jersey meeting. It's down in Manalapan. And we go and we listen to other administrators and we hear what their success stories are. So for example, we listen to a supervisor of special education and we listen to how they run their IEP meetings. So how do you run them? And they gave an example. And then I went back to my child study team meetings that I have weekly and I said, why don't we try this? Let's see if this works. They had a lot of success with it. Let's try something to fully flip how we're running our meetings and have more of that engagement so that it's not so procedural. And that really then ties into parental involvement and making those meetings feel really inclusive for the student.
All right, thank you. And the last question for you was the partner for effective partnership to effectively resolve disputes. Now, how was Dunellen selected as one of the 3 in the state?
So I asked that question to the state representative, and what the answer she gave was that the 3 districts that were selected, it was ourselves, Mount Olive, and Englishtown Manalapan. They evaluated other districts and looked at, what, as they called it, the capacity to make change, is how they defined it. I think that any district is going to have some level of dispute and litigation, so I do not think that that was the gauge that they were using. I do think that it was based on positive reputation and just knowing that we can enact change, and also a willingness to want to do this. I think that anytime you can acknowledge that there's work to do, there's work to do. We are going to roll up our sleeves and we're going to listen to families and try to understand how can we resolve things. We're always going to have disputes. It's a natural part of being a human, right? So how can we effectively, collaboratively, respectfully dispute something, and going through the technical assistance and the training for it, I think is extremely appropriate for, and we have a young team. We have some veterans, but we also have a young team, and I'm very excited just about the training for myself also.
Thank you very much, Doctor.
You're welcome. Anyone else? No.
Mr. Pepe, I've got some questions for you. So as you walk up to the microphone, can you highlight our capital reserve and how is it going to be utilized for needed plans?
So the capital reserve was depleted pretty low before this presentation today, where we're up to $8 million. So it's been a focus since the day I came here. I've been working with Mr. Ardito on understanding how to generate money to increase our capital reserve. We clearly have effectively been able to do that. The one thing to understand is that was June 30th. In this current year, with the new project, the preschool expansion project we have, if you remember, that project is only partially funded by the state. So we have about $3.6 million of our money that we need to put towards that. So that plus the debt service the money we pull from the capital reserve every year to pay the portion of the debt service from the 2020 referendum is going to pull about $4 million of that right back out. In this, as we stand here, there's $4 million less because
So we're required to maintain at least the minimum for our district, right?
There's not really a requirement. It's just an understanding that, and Mr. Ardito talked about this, that when you have things that come up, when you need major capital improvements, or if you get to a point where you need to do expansion and build, where does that money come from?
That's what I want to highlight for our
Right.
constituents, that we're preparing ourselves so that we don't have to go back out for a referendum, right?
That's
That
correct.
we are at a point where we could be healthy for future planning for needed expansion and things like that, right?
That's correct. And that's the goal of our budget every year, is to generate money that can be put back into the capital reserve, which we've been successful for the past couple of years. So that $8 million is going to go down to $4 million, but then in June, whatever we've been able to save this year will go back in, and we'll keep building it up. The idea is there's not a specified amount that you have to have, but in thinking of terms of like worst case scenario projects, a major referendum, our last referendum was $23 million, right? So if we had $23 million in capital reserve when we did that, we could have done the referendum just to get money from the state, but not increase taxes at all. And so the more that we have in the capital reserve when we need to spend it, we can then avoid taxing, or asking the taxpayers for additional money to make those projects happen. So that's our goal.
Thank you. And so the last question for you is, are we looking for some sort of self-service or automation to increase efficiencies in the areas that you were talking about, like invoicing or some of the self-help or self-service kind of area?
No, and I think I'm very proud of the work we've done, and I think that if we continue to take a proactive approach to this, it's really a manageable process in-house. We kind of had a hole. We were in a hole when I got here. There were a lot of backlogged things that needed to get cleaned up, and it was a slow process, and we started digging, and I have to really give kudos to the new staff we hired this year. We went from a slow cleanup process to it got cleaned in about 5 months. And we're now in a position where we have very little, there's still things that pop up that we didn't know about, but for the most part, we now have a routine. Things come in, we get what we need, we process it, we move on. And so, I don't know that we need a system per se. Genesis, or SchoolFi, which is the Genesis product that we use for financial accounting, has some really great tools that help us with that. Filtering, reporting, procedural things that we can generate emails to send out. So I think we're doing very well with what we have right now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Pepe.
You're welcome.
Mr. Pepe, before you step away, I just had one follow-up question. You mentioned paying off debt service. Are we paying any other debt service before 2020, or is that all? Are we clear to those?
So generally speaking, when you go to referendum, which we did in 2012, and then again I think the referendum was like 2019.
Right, 2019.
We sold the bonds in 2020. When you go out for a referendum, what you're asking the taxpayers to approve is, number one, that the projects are worthwhile so that the state will kick in their debt service aid, which is typically approximately 40% of that. And number two, that the local tax constituents will pay the remaining balance of the debt service. And in 2012, that's exactly what happened. So every year, our local tax levy includes two parts, a general fund levy and a debt service levy. And the debt service levy is based on the schedule that was created when the bonds were sold in 2012. The 2019 referendum, the district, this is before I was here, but the way that it was presented to the public was the district promised that they would not levy the debt service to the taxpayers. So what we've been doing is every year we take a withdrawal from our capital reserve to pay what would have been taxed, so that we're not increasing the taxes for that. So that was a creative way to get the project to move forward without having to increase taxes to the taxpayers. So the 2012 one, we're still paying, but we're getting that money from the state. The 2021, we're getting some money from the state, and the balance we're paying out of capital reserve.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Yep.
Any other questions from the board members? No? All right. Oh, yes, Ms. Shep.
Thank you all for taking the time to go through this and putting this together and explaining to us. I think it's very helpful to see that this is a process and also where we're at in the process and where our expectations should be going forward. So thank you all for that.
Thank you very much. Any other comments or questions, board members? Okay. I'll just thank my team once again, and we will move on to the rest of the agenda.
Okay, moving on to item 12 on the agenda. Public comments on agenda action items to be voted on only. Oh. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought the, okay. Continue.
All right, so just bear with me. I have a couple of items for the superintendent's report beyond the two presentations. First, I want to thank and welcome our new board member who is here and our new board member who will be joining us. Ms. Moore, I know you've been to more board meetings than many of the board members have, and it's going to be interesting sitting on this side of the table. So welcome, congratulations. We look forward to your contributions. This is National or New Jersey School Board Recognition Month, the month of January. New Jersey apparently has over 5,000 local school board members, which is an incredibly high number, who devote countless hours with no compensation to the oversight and advancement of our children's education. They oversee 581 school districts, which in turn operate nearly 2,500 public schools and provide educational services to nearly 1.4 million children in the state. So I just want to thank all of you for the time that you take to serve on the board. As a former board member myself, I know the dedication that it takes. It is a somewhat thankless job in some ways, and then it is a very incredible job because you get to set policy and oversee the work that's being done in the district. So thank you all for your service as board members. Just providing a construction update, construction work, as board members know, as favorite parents, community members are aware, the work over winter break was very successful. We did complete the asbestos abatement project. All of the details about that and the testing results, the full report, were put online last week. Wooden walls were constructed within the construction area to basically close off the area that will be worked on by the construction workers. And day shift work is actually going to begin Thursday. The construction team took off yesterday, today, and tomorrow, right? Because they worked basically Christmas Eve, New Year's Eve, like they worked throughout the winter break to ensure that the project could get done for us. So we'll assess the noise, personnel traffic flow, any other kinds of things as the project goes on, but we'll see how Thursday goes. The staff members are aware, so I sent them kind of a heads up. And then obviously we're going to continue to conduct all of our air quality monitoring. We're also exploring other solutions. One of the things that I learned about for the first time in this project is negative air pressure vents, and so this is the process that's used during the asbestos abatement. It's basically a giant fan that runs through a HEPA filter and then out the window, so that any dust or, in this case, asbestos material that might be in the air, any fibers, get taken out of the building. And so we had a conversation about, couldn't we just have something like this for regular construction dust? And so we're looking into that. Northeastern actually has their own machine. We also may be purchasing our own. But in any case, that would help also. We think that the dust will be pretty controlled within the construction area with the wooden walls and plastic sheeting. But you know, at any steps that could improve the safety or continue to sort of focus on that will be helpful. As part of that, as I mentioned last meeting, we are also piloting a new visitor management system called Visitor Aware. This is the system that scans an ID, takes a picture. It runs basically on an iPad, which is in a kiosk. You put your face in front of it, it takes your picture, and then you scan your ID, the front and the back. Then it runs your information through a number of federal and state databases, National Sex Offender Registry, government watch lists, active legal injunctions. And then once you've done that once, when you go back, it recognizes you, and then you don't have to do that again. So it says, oh, welcome back, Dan. It's called Visitor Aware. So we're going to be piloting this with our construction workers. And construction teams, they all have to go through the types of background checks that are required anyway. But in this case, they will also, at the end of the sort of ID process, it also prints out a little sticker with your picture and your name on it. And so this will be done with them as well. The construction workers are going to be wearing armbands, orange armbands, that will have their name on them as well. We figured that that was easier than the lanyards because it's, you know, they're doing manual work, and, you know, people would probably tuck the lanyards in, et cetera. So they'll have the armbands, they'll be visible, orange, to be able to be seen sort of on the cameras and all of that. Some of the construction team leads, our, you know, construction superintendent and other folks will also probably have the lanyards. And on Thursday, Mr. Young will be there to help facilitate the process and ensure that all the construction workers that come on site are scanned and identified properly. So exciting, you know, we were going to move in this direction anyway. Now we have the perfect use case for it. I mentioned just briefly the ENL mid-year exit breakfasts. This has been something that we've done for, is this the second year? This is the third year. I might have to write a speech in Spanish again, which would be, I'll sort of fumble through. But on the 15th for the middle school and the high school, and on the 27th for Faber, this is just an incredible event, as I've talked about in the past. Parents come, kids have shown proficiency in the English language, and again, I think what I mentioned last time is there are parents crying at this event because they're so happy that their children have learned the language, have demonstrated proficiency, and it's a real sign of kind of social mobility or social potential in a lot of ways. And so we're very excited to provide that support for them. And the mid-year process also allows students to spend less time out of the classroom and more time with their peers so they can continue to improve their understanding of the English language. I am also very proud of Ms. Drapkin. A couple days ago, we received news that she, along with Melissa Van Ross, who is our supervisor of early childhood education, and Allison Tominski, who is a middle school teacher, have been selected to present at the NJASA, NJPSA Women's Leadership Conference in mid-March. They're presenting alongside Evelyn Swift, who's a principal who's done a lot of professional development work for us. The session is called Inside Out Leadership, Strengthening Systems Through Empowered Voices, and it explores how schools can cultivate sustainable growth and leadership by identifying the unique strengths of individuals within the organization. So it's really about kind of identifying the strengths within, and how do you bring those voices to the top, and then how do you really promote that more broadly within the organization. So very excited to see that presentation, and congratulations to Ms. Drapkin, Ms. Van Ross, and Ms. Tominski. Yeah. We have an update on the 4 grants. As you know, the district received all 4 of the comprehensive literacy grants that were released from the state. And finally, at this meeting, we actually get to accept them. We've known for about 2 months that we got the grants, and we've been in the process of working already with the funds, but now we actually get to accept them from the state. And there's a technical assistance on the 15th for each of the grants. Just as a reminder, the Coach Grant is a 5-year renewable $150,000 per year grant that supports a K-12 literacy coach. The Impact Grant is $100,000 to support the adoption of high-quality instructional materials, plus professional development, which we're looking at in grades 9 through 12 through the Learning Leadership Team, Literacy Leadership Team. The RISE Grant is a $50,000 grant, which is focused on intervention, primarily in grades 6 through 12. We're going to be continuing professional development with arts and letters and other professional development, as we've talked about with literacy supports in other content areas. And then the LIFT grant is a $40,000 family engagement grant for families of 0 to 3-year-olds. So we've pushed now at universal pre-K. So we have room and support for every 3-year-old and 4-year-old in the district or in the community. And now this is about pushing down even further to 0 to 3 for early identification and support and reading materials and that kind of thing. That's going to be led by our community parent involvement specialist, Beatrice Jimenez. So those 4 grants are moving forward with board approval tonight, and then the support that we have on the 15th. I wanted to just bring to the board's attention and to the public's attention that on Thursday, it seems, it's anticipated that Governor Murphy is going to be signing a bill that has now been approved by the Senate and the Assembly that will require the Commissioner of Education to develop statewide guidelines on the student use of cell phones and social media for students in grades K-12 during school hours on school buses and at school-sanctioned events where students are under school supervision. So there's been a lot of talk about this. And actually, when Tammy Murphy came to visit the school, she mentioned kind of this being as a sort of a lame duck maybe triumph or win for the governor's office. And obviously, the legislators were very supportive of it based on the votes. And again, this is about the governor, the legislature is looking to the Department of Education to develop these guidelines. So the guidelines have to be really community built. So there's got to be a lot of stakeholder education. So there will be outreach from each of the associations, NJPSA, school boards, the State Board of Education, other groups. And the guidelines have to provide age-appropriate and grade-level differentiated guidelines concerning limiting and prohibiting student use of cell phones and social media platforms, prohibit non-academic use of cell phone or social media during classroom instruction, be consistent with the state and federal law, including accommodations provided in a student's IEP, educational plan, or student health plan, address permitting student use of cell phones in the case of emergency or in response to perceived threat of danger, address smartphones, cell phones with only text or voice, and other relevant devices, including smartwatches, list options that may be used by a school district for cell phone storage, including locked pouches and cell phone lockers, provide guidance for a school district to establish network-based restrictions to prevent the use of or access to social media platforms, and detailed protocols for communicating the district's policy concerning student use of cell phones and social media platforms to students, their families, and teaching staff members. It is an incredibly, incredibly comprehensive list of things, and probably every superintendent, IT person is a little bit worried about this. Business manager. There are a lot of expenses associated with this. There's a tremendous amount of time and work associated with this. We don't know what the guidelines will be, but certainly the legislature has made a firm statement that of their beliefs, and we'll see what the commissioner comes out with. That's going to probably take 6 months or so. That might be in effect during the next school year, or it might get pushed to the following school year because everyone will be out of budget season and, you know, won't have purchased yonder pouches or cell phone lockers or whatever it might be. This also requires the Board of Education to adopt a local policy consistent with the Commissioner's guidelines. That for us would come through Strauss-Esme, and that would be very much in line with what the guidelines state. So more on that as we get more information. District school calendar, the goal again is to approve this at the end of January. I wasn't able to do any work over winter break on it, but we'll talk about this early this month. We'll discuss it in committees. I will discuss it with the DEA, and then we can discuss it again. If we can come to an agreement, if the board can come to an agreement in January, then we'll do that, and otherwise we'll push it to February. But certainly the feedback that was provided at the last meeting and the feedback we'll discuss during committees will be helpful as well. And then the last thing I wanted to just mention is we're in a new year, and one of the things that pieces of feedback that I've heard, and I think this is a very good sort of conversation for the board just generally, is the need for more board engagement with staff, community, staff member associations, let's say. As we've moved towards a much more structured board approach, one of the things that I think has happened is that the line between where you are as a board member and where teachers are, where the associations are, right? We try to keep that very tight because procedurally and from a policy perspective, it has to be. At the same time, there is a need for kind of continued engagement between the board and the associations, and more than just every 3 years during negotiations process. And so one of the pieces of feedback that I've heard quite a bit is that the associations would love to have more engagement with the board as a body, and board members as individuals, right? Not to discuss particular issues, you know, and sort of circumvent formal processes, but more as represented members of the community to really understand what's happening in the school district and not let other people represent what those folks are feeling. So this has been a good conversation that I've had. I think it's I had another discussion about it today, and I think it is something that procedurally, I think we have to figure out how exactly that works. But I think that, you know, there's a sort of the large-scale procedural part of it, which is we'll have to figure out some process for, and maybe that's, you know, presidents, vice president coming to committee meetings and, you know, interacting in small groups with board members or something like that. But I think there's also the sort of the softer version of it, which is, you know, when you're involved as board members, when you go to a school event as a parent, right? You can be there as a parent and take off the board hat for a moment and interact with folks. Stepping away, recognizing again, you're always a board member still, right? But just that level of interaction, I think, is something that would help kind of bridge some of the potential gaps in understanding and some of the perceptual things that we've heard about. So this is a piece of feedback that I'm sharing. I think it's a great idea. I think it's something to be conscious of because I think there's always the tendency to be, my tendency is always to be very, very tight in terms of the procedures. And sometimes that might mean stepping away a little bit from the human side or whatever it might be, which is again a really good connected piece of it. So I'm sharing that feedback, and that's the end of my superintendent's report. There's no enrollment report today. Next enrollment report and student report will be presented at the end of the month. And thank you, Ms. Drapkin and Dr. Santinella. Have a wonderful evening. Get home safe.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ross. Moving on to item number 12, public comments.
I just do have a clarification.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it was mentioned about the filtration of the area where the construction is for the negative pressure. Just to clarify so that people understand what was said, that the air that the negative pressure ensures that the confined construction space doesn't allow any particles to escape outside of that space. What it does is that the air that the fan pushes out of the school, remember it's going out of the school, is heavily filtered. So none of the particles does escape the confined space. All that air in the confined space is then filtered, pushed, and captured in a HEPA filter so that any air that is pushed out is already cleaned of the particles, just for clarification. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that the other important part of that is that in an environment where there's no air circulation at all, particles would fall to the floor, right? And what this allows is that when there are any airborne particles, it takes it, it flushes it out through the HEPA filter and outside of the building so that it doesn't,
Well, the HEPA filter captures it.
The HEPA filter captures it, right. The air goes out through the building, and that allows for that as well. Yeah. Thank you.
Any other comments or clarifications or questions? Okay. Now moving along to item number 12, public comments, on agenda action items to be voted on only. The board invites public comment from members of our community in accordance with Board Policy 0167, on agenda action items to be voted on only. Public comment sections are intended to provide an opportunity for members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The board and the administration will take notes during the public comment, but will not provide substantive responses to questions or concerns raised by individual speakers. If necessary, the superintendent may provide a brief response after the entire public comment period is completed. The board appreciates and welcomes feedback from the community, but is not at liberty to engage in a back-and-forth dialogue with members of the public during this portion of the meeting. Prior to making your public comment, please state your name and municipality. Please note that all statements must be directed to the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone at this time if you would like to make comments on agenda action items to be voted on only. Prior to beginning your comment, please state the action item to be voted on that you would like to comment on. Last call. Okay, moving on to item number 13, Board Policy and Operations Reorganization. Looking for a motion to approve 13A through V as in Victor as a block.
Motion to approve A through V as a block.
Seconded.
Open for questions or comments.
I just want to thank again Mr. Pepe for putting together, this is the organization agenda. One of the notable items is item N, which is the approval of the cooperative pricing systems. This is more options for us when we purchase things to get lower prices. And Mr. Pepe's been very proactive in finding new co-ops that we can take part in. So thank you for that.
Any other questions, any other comments?
I'll also just add, since we have our Borough Council representative here, item U and item T are both related to the district's partnership with the borough. Obviously, the MOU regarding the DPD's live streaming video access was something we were able to put together last year and set all the technology up to allow the patrol cars to have access in the case of a significant emergency. And then our shared services agreement for the SRO. As board members, as you know, this has been a process we've been really going through to try to have a full team in place. And now with the district security coordinator and a guard and an SRO, I think we're in a great place. And sergeant level has been phenomenal. So thank you.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, Mr. Pepe, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf?
Yes.
Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 14, board action items. Under A for education, we do not have any action items there, but under B for personnel, we do. So looking for a motion, and also we also have under C as well, under operations. So looking for a motion to approve 14 B and C, essentially.
Move to approve items 14B, A through C.
Second.
Okay, open for questions or comments.
I just have one correction to the information on the table for professional staff travel. Which one is it? Number 4, the date is actually at January 15th, not January 16th. So we'll fix that in the minutes.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, Mr. Pepe, can you please call the roll?
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Condit?
Yes.
Dr. Gendrano?
Yes.
Mrs. Moore?
Yes.
Mr. Satinoy?
Yes.
Ms. Schimpf? Yes. Mrs. Shep?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Wonderful. Moving on to item number 15, old business. Is there any old business from previous meetings that we'd like to bring back up or other items to discuss from previous meetings?
Yes.
Mr. Anderson, go ahead.
I'm still not comfortable with, even though we get this several days ahead with the personnel and operations and, what's the third one? And education being lumped together as a vote. I think it should still be separated.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any other comments on that, or anyone want to offer an opinion on that as well? Okay. Moving on to item number 16, new business. Any new business that anyone would like to bring up? Last call? Okay. Moving on to item 17, President's remarks. Nothing more for me to add at this time. Item number 18, public comments. Any issue, any topic. The board invites public comment from members of our community in accordance with Board Policy 0167 on any issue or topic. Public comment sections are intended to provide an opportunity for members of the public to express themselves on school matters of community interest. The board and administration will take notes during the public comment but will not provide substantive responses to questions or concerns raised by individual speakers. If necessary, the superintendent may provide a brief response after the entire public comment period is completed. The board appreciates and welcomes feedback from the community, but is not at liberty to engage in a back-and-forth dialogue with members of the public during this portion of the meeting. Prior to making public comment, please state your name and municipality. Please note that all statements must be directed to the presiding officer. Please come to the microphone at this time if you'd like to make comments on any issue or any topic.
Chiara Kupiak, I'm a resident of Dunellen. Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to speak again this evening. I would like to begin by sincerely thanking you for listening to the voices and concerns of the community members at the last board meeting. Your decision to postpone the vote of the superintendent's contract renewal did not go unnoticed, and I want to acknowledge that many in the community appreciated being heard. However, tonight, I'm here to say that listening must now be followed by action. The community is watching closely to see whether this postponement was truly meant to allow time for reflection, investigation, and thoughtful consideration on whether it was simply a pause, hoping that concerns would face with time. This is the moment for you as board members to demonstrate through your actions that you're taking the concerns raised on December 16th seriously. I would like to use my time to offer some concrete suggestions. I do not do this to sound arrogant or to overstep, but because I firmly believe that you owe it to this community to make an informed decision based on evidence, facts, and the lived experiences of those most impacted by your vote. It is clear that the superintendent has presented a strong list of accomplishments, ones that understandably impressed each of you. He has done that again tonight when he did the presentation of the mid-year goals. But I ask you this: how many of these accomplishments have been examined beyond what has been presented to you? How many of you have looked closely at the processes behind them, and more importantly, at their actual results. By postponing the vote, you have given yourself the time to do exactly that. Before the next board meeting, I urge you to take the following actions to ensure that your decision is based on true data, not just well-prepared talking points. And again, you witnessed that today. We all did. First, develop and administer service to staff, students, and community focused on specific initiatives that the superintendent frequently cites as successes, such as the implementation and use of Lincoln and iReady. Survey the staff and older students not just on whether these tools exist, but on how they're being used, how effective they truly are, and what impact they're having on teaching and learning. Second, ask staff direct and specific questions, not whether they feel supported by the administration, but whether they feel supported by the superintendent himself. Ask whether they feel empowered, if they feel included in decision-making process. Ask whether they feel they have professional independence when it comes to instructional choices and the election of materials. Again, we heard that from their voices today, from the central admin voices today during the presentation. Please, in the next 2 weeks, take the time to ask the staff if that is true. Third, I strongly encourage you to speak directly and in person with elementary teachers about the Arts and Letters program. Ask them about their experience with scripted lesson plans. Ask whether they believe this approach truly benefits students. Fourth, seek honest feedback from both staff and students about supplemental programs such as the Urban Assembly or the instructional program. Ask if they're effective or meaningful. I want to be very clear tonight. Your role as a board member is not to validate a narrative that has already been crafted for you. Your role as a board member is to verify it. And again, you do have the next 2 weeks to do that. As I conclude, I want to remind you that your vote should rely on evidence gathered from all stakeholders, not merely what you hear from the superintendent, as many families, students, staff see a very different day-to-day reality. Finally, I remind you of this, and I really have noticed over the last few months and maybe years that you all need to be reminded of this. And this is probably one of the reasons why I decided to also not be part of this board back in the years ago. The superintendent works for this board and ultimately for this community. The board does not work for him. I urge you to take this time wisely, ask the hard question, seek the full truth, and make a decision that reflects the voices, experiences, and best interests of the entire district. Thanks for your attention. Have a good night.
Thank you, Ms. Kupiak. Any other comments? Okay, last call? Okay. All right then, so we move on to item number 19, executive session. So the Dunellen Board of Education will now adjourn into executive session to discuss items that fall within specific exceptions to the Open Public Meetings Act, CNJSA 10-4-12B. Confidential matters discussed by the board during this executive session include items related to individual privacy, collective bargaining agreements, as well as personnel. Anything else? Any other topics? Individual privacy, collective bargaining agreements, and personnel. Okay, and pending and anticipated litigation. Any discussion that does not need to remain confidential will be made public as soon as it's practical. Minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. All individuals who may be discussed in executive session have been adequately notified. Action will not take place after the conclusion of the executive session. Okay, so under the exceptions, I do want to add 8, just in case. That's attorney-client privilege. Just in case we need to, if the discussion goes in that direction, just be sure we're covered. Okay, still, action will not take place after the conclusion of the executive session. May I have a motion to move into executive session?
Move to go to exec.
Go to exec.
And second.
You guys
Yeah,
pick.
second.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. So for the public, we will be adjourning from executive session after that, so we will see you next time. Our next meeting is 27th of January, Tuesday night. Start time is 7 p.m. General session starts at 7:30ish, but we will see you then. So thanks, everyone, and see you then.